Hello everyone, this is Shadow. Due to copyright restrictions on YouTube, I can't publish many of the audiobooks you love. That's why I've created a special paid service where you can enjoy over 300 high-quality audiobooks from platforms like Webnovel, Pocket FM, Audible, Wuxia, and more. Each novel comes as a one-time purchase, no subscriptions, no hidden fees. After payment, you'll receive full access via Telegram, along with all future updates for that novel. You'll find a wide selection of your favorite genres and titles, always in premium audio quality. Check the full list of available novels in the description. DM me now to get your favorite stories in audiobook form and start listening today. Chapter 471. The Long 300 Years. Such an aura of an immortal king. The purple-robed elder gazed towards Xianyao City, or to be precise, at the vast expanse under the firmament above Xianyao City. To the eyes of a true immortal, there was nothing there, and even ordinary tribulation-transcending celestial kings would not notice anything amiss. But in the eyes of the purple-robed elder, a grand world was evolving, vast and boundless, and the breath it emitted was no weaker than the aura of an ordinary immortal king. The aura is actually that of a whole world. The purple-robed elder's mind trembled, as the aura of most immortal kings was the outer image of some object, such as a heavenly pillar or an ocean. But the grand world aura before him was not so much an aura as a collection of countless other auras. Martial Ancestor is definitely not a freshly ascended immortal king. The purple-robed elder collected his thoughts. How could the aura of a newly ascended immortal king be so grand? Although the aura of an immortal king is to some extent an indication of their strength, it's not absolute. But the grand aura the purple-robed elder was observing, how could an ordinary immortal king present such a display? Within the boundless world, many wonders were included. Even those who had cultivated for 1,000,000 years, the peak tribulation-transcending celestial kings, could not achieve such a feat. Only a supreme immortal king, one in full control of the power of creation, could condense such a level of an aura. The purple-robed elder took a deep breath. There are two types of tribulation-stage celestial kings. One is the regular immortal king, which includes the newly ascended immortal kings, ordinary immortal kings, veteran immortal kings, and peak immortal kings. The difference in strength among these four levels largely depends on their control of the power of creation. However, the gap is not too large. Even a peak immortal king would have difficulty killing a newly ascended immortal king. By the Transcendence Tribulation stage, after overcoming the bodily and mind tribulations and mastering the power of creation, an immortal king's ability to protect themselves becomes extraordinarily strong, and escaping if they can't win is not much of a problem. The second type of tribulation-transcending celestial king is the Supreme Immortal King. A Supreme Immortal King has mastered the full extent of the power of creation, and some have even grasped more than one type of power of creation. The strength of a Supreme Immortal King has almost no limit, and for some of the ancient ones, killing a peak Immortal King is not too troublesome. Therefore, even among tribulation-stage celestial kings, Supreme Immortal Kings are absolutely not to be trifled with and are to be revered. Of course, the number of Supreme Immortal Kings is pitifully small, and only a few, like the Supreme Immortal King, have a renowned reputation. To think that Martial Ancestor might actually be a Supreme Immortal King? The purple-robed elder's scalp tingled, but he couldn't help but feel curious. In this world, everything leaves a trace, especially Supreme Immortal Kings. Becoming a Supreme Immortal King is not something that can be achieved through seclusion alone. It requires interaction with the outside world, venturing through many secret realms. The growth trajectory of any Supreme Immortal King cannot be completely secret. But Martial Ancestor, the purple-robed elder, thought himself well-learned, but had never heard of a Supreme Immortal King associated with martial. Could it be that one of those undying beings from the prehistoric era has re-emerged? The purple-robed elder speculated secretly. Long ago, the spirit realm experienced a historical discontinuity. Before the discontinuity was the prehistoric era. It is said that during the prehistoric era of the spirit realm, it was immensely glorious. Immortal king-level beings roamed the universe, but due to a shocking upheaval, many immortal kings fell, leading to the current era of the 3000 Taoist states. The purple-robed elder's speculation about Lin Yuan could only be attributed to the prehistoric era. Otherwise, he could not explain the sudden emergence of a supreme immortal king. Better slip away. Whether or not it's a supreme immortal king from the prehistoric era, it's better not to get too close. Before understanding the character of this supreme immortal king, the purple-robed elder immediately planned to keep his distance. If Lin Yuan were merely a newly ascended immortal king, or a veteran or peak immortal king, he would not mind interacting with him. But a supreme immortal king, who might be from the prehistoric era, was something the purple-robed elder dared not approach lightly. The stronger one is, the more clearly they understand the terror of a supreme immortal king, especially those from the glorious prehistoric era. Let's go. The purple-robed elder turned to leave. But in the next moment, he froze in place, because a figure had appeared not far away, at some unknown time, facing away from him with hands clasped behind his back. It's martial ancestor. The purple-robed elder's scalp exploded, knowing that only martial ancestor could have appeared beside him undetected, something not even a peak immortal king could achieve. I have seen martial ancestor, the purple-robed elder said immediately with slight respect. Since martial ancestor appeared here, it was a clear sign that he had been discovered, and it was obviously too late to run now. Lin Yuan glanced at the purple-robed elder and felt quite satisfied. He had revealed part of his strength not only to promote the martial Tao cultivation system but also to attract other tribulation-transcending celestial kings, so as to gain true upper-level information about the spirit realm. The spirit realm is vast. The 3000 Taoist states are just a small part of it. If Lin Yuan were to search for those tribulation-transcending celestial kings himself, it would probably take a lot of time. Instead of doing that, why not wait for them to come to him? The moment the purple-robed elder approached Xianyao City, Lin Yuan was aware of him. As the purple-robed elder was observing the aura of martial ancestor, Lin Yuan was also observing the purple-robed elder. Although he did not know what method the purple-robed elder used, in that instant, Lin Yuan had a vague feeling of being watched. This scrutiny was only the most superficial kind, far from detecting the core of Lin Yuan, but it was still rare. Chapter 472. I do not know what matters the martial ancestor has for me to attend to, but rest assured, I will follow them. The elder in the purple robe took the initiative to say. Although he did not know the ultimate purpose of the martial ancestor, his presence surely meant more than a mere meeting. I shall ask you a few questions, Lin Yuan said casually. Please ask, martial ancestor. As long as I know, I will withhold nothing. The elder in the purple robe let out a slight sigh of relief. Not just a few questions, even if there were hundreds, he would not hesitate. Where do most celestial kings in the tribulation stage stay? Lin Yuan asked directly. Up till now, traces of tribulation-transcending celestial kings have rarely been seen across the 3000 Tao provinces, not only in Dongyun Tao province, but even in several core Tao provinces. There are at most legacies left by immortal king-level beings. In other Tao provinces, there are occasionally rumors of celestial kings, but just rumors. For instance, the Zhejiang domain is rumored to be the place of dragon transformation of a certain tribulation-transcending dragon king. As for the celestial king-level powerhouses themselves, they are still nowhere to be seen. This fact made Lin Yuan somewhat astonished. Although tribulation-transcending celestial kings are rare, they have long lifespans, and although it might be difficult to birth one in an era, over successive eras, there surely must be some. Where are all the celestial kings? This question from Lin Yuan made the elder in the purple robe's heart skip a beat. He became more certain that Lin Yuan was definitely a supreme immortal king from the prehistoric era. Otherwise, how could he possibly not know even this basic common sense? Generally speaking, those who could ask this question were mostly newly ascended celestial kings, and those without any background at that. Otherwise, if they had an immortal king-level elder, how could they have no knowledge about this? But Lin Yuan was clearly not a newly ascended celestial king, and although the elder in the purple robe had not seen Lin Yuan take action, he had long regarded him as a certain supreme immortal king. having the strength of a supreme immortal king while being ignorant of the affairs of this era. If he was not an old monster from the prehistoric era, what else could he be? Thinking this, the elder in the purple robe grew even more respectful. He did not know much about the prehistoric era, just that a cataclysmic calamity had occurred, causing even some supreme immortal kings to fall. A supreme immortal king who could survive from that era must be one of the exceptional ones among supreme immortal kings. Responding to the martial ancestor in the current era, most celestial kings in the tribulation stage linger primarily in two places, he said. One is the barren lands outside the 3,000 Tau provinces. Though dilapidated and nowhere near as prosperous as the 3,000 Tau provinces, they contain traces from the prehistoric era, which are of great help to us ordinary celestial kings. The elder in the purple robe slightly paused after mentioning prehistoric era, stealing a glance at Lin Yuan, who seemed unmoved. The barren lands outside the 3,000 Tau provinces? Lin Yuan pondered. He had once explored the barren lands with his primordial spirit but found nothing of note and hence disregarded it. The second is the 9 heavens, but for us celestial kings, there isn't much stir till the 5th heaven. It's only from the 5th heaven onwards that there begins some usefulness, but the 5th heaven is hard to climb. Generally, only peak celestial kings or supreme immortal kings can ascend. The elder in the purple robe continued. I see. Lin Yuan nodded slightly. Since the transformation of the force of Taiji, the fusion of the Taiyin divine spirit and Taiyang divine spirit into the Taiji primordial spirit, he also had the invincible power of the 8th layer, which was the level of a supreme immortal king. He had already climbed the 5th heaven, but so far, he had yet to encounter any celestial king. After all, the 5th heaven is vast and boundless, even for a supreme immortal king, being there was like a drop of water in the ocean. Furthermore, Lin Yuan's Taiji primordial spirit was observing various marvels and phenomena of the 5th heaven, comprehending them with his against heaven's understanding, not specifically searching for other celestial kings. It was natural not to encounter any. It is said that the 9th layer of heaven holds great secrets, related to the end of the prehistoric era, and all supreme immortal kings wish to enter the 9th layer of heaven. The elder in the purple robe seemed to remember something and immediately said. Lin Yuan's expression did not change upon hearing this. He had also heard of the legends concerning the 9th layer of heaven. The 9 heavens of the spirit realm were accessible even to Unity Realm true immortals, and it wasn't a particularly hidden matter. There's been a saying since ancient times related to the 9 heavens of the spirit realm. Beyond man there is another man. Beyond heaven there are higher heavens. Above the 9th heaven, there are celestial beings. This 9th heaven here is the 9th layer of heaven, and the celestial beings are not specifically explained. Following that, Lin Yuan asked a few more questions. Mostly rather simple matters of common knowledge. Like how many supreme immortal kings were there in this era and so on. As the elder in the purple robe grew increasingly fearful, he naturally told him everything he knew. One last thing. Lin Yuan looked toward the elder in the purple robe and spoke. Please speak, martial ancestor. The elder in the purple robe immediately responded, not daring to hesitate. I heard that tribulation stage celestial kings all wield some kind of power of creation. What type of power? Lin Yuan asked. Through close contact with the elder in the purple robe, Lin Yuan was very certain that the latter had not developed an inner world. Yet, the elder's strength, as perceived by Lin Yuan, was not inferior to an 8th layer evolver from the main world. Without the reliance on an inner world, yet able to rival an 8th layer evolver who possesses an inner world, the key, he estimated, must lie in the power of creation, wielded by the celestial kings. Martial ancestor. The power of creation that I wield is called innate purple chi. The elder in the purple robe stretched out his right hand, and strands of purple chi were swirling around his fingertips. Lin Yuan examined carefully. Could you give me a strand? If martial ancestor desires it, naturally I can. The elder in the purple robe replied somewhat perplexed, but as a tribulation-transcending celestial king who controlled a part of the power of creation, giving away a strand was beyond simple. All right, you can go now. If there is anything, I will contact you. Lin Yuan put away a strand of the innate purple qi from the elder in the purple robe and spoke in a calm voice. Yes. The elder in the purple robe breathed a sigh of relief, bowed to Lin Yuan again, and quickly turned and left. At a location many tens of thousands of miles from Xianyao City, the elder in the purple robe revealed himself, finally feeling relieved. It seems martial ancestor isn't one of those bloodthirsty supreme immortal kings. The elder in the purple robe was somewhat unsettled, recalling how some supreme immortal kings from the prehistoric era were fond of hunting immortal king-level beings. Martial ancestor asked many questions about the supreme immortal kings of this era. Could there be another purpose? After settling his thoughts, the elder began to ponder. He speculated that perhaps martial ancestor aimed to recreate the glory of the prehistoric era. Regardless of martial ancestor's intentions, I must seize this opportunity. The elder had made up his mind, for he had received a way to contact martial ancestor before their separation. This meant that martial ancestor allowed him to make contact. Being able to contact a supreme immortal king, especially one from the prehistoric era, was an incredible opportunity. Initially, the elder in the purple robe planned to steer clear of martial ancestor, not knowing the character of this supreme immortal king. He worried that if he encountered one of those bloodthirsty supreme immortal kings, it would be like jumping into a pit. But now, through brief interaction, the elder felt he somewhat understood martial ancestor. Although his knowledge wasn't deep, he was aware that martial ancestor was likely not one of those who killed indiscriminately. Martial Temple. Lin Yuan returned to his cave dwelling inside. Prehistoric era? And the ninth layer of heaven? In the elder's responses, the greatest reactions were to these words, revealing waves of reverent fear. Never mind. We'll talk about this later. Lin Yuan no longer focused on it. Whether it was the prehistoric era or the ninth layer of heaven, these were not Lin Yuan's most pressing concerns at the moment. What Lin Yuan really wanted to confirm now was the power of creation wielded by the elder in the purple robe. Innate purple qi. Lin Yuan lifted his right hand, and a strand of purple qi appeared, exactly the strand that the elder in the purple robe had left. This aura, Lin Yuan observed carefully, feeling intently, and ultimately concluded. This strand of innate purple qi actually had similarities to the cosmic force he wielded, the force of Taiji. Chapter 473, The Long 300 Years 2. This is actually a cosmic force? Lin Yuan observed repeatedly and finally came to a conclusion. The innate purple qi mastered by the elder in the purple robe was, in the main world, a cosmic force that only an invincible being at the eighth layer could control. So that's how it is. Lin Yuan fell silent for a moment, suddenly enlightened. No wonder the tribulation transcending celestial kings of the spirit realm, without the support of an inner world, could rival the evolvers of the eighth layer in the main world. The world force emanating from the inner world of the eighth layer evolvers allowed human evolvers to catch up with those innate, powerful special life forms. There are few forces at the same level that can match the amplification of world force on evolvers. But cosmic force is definitely one of them. Even the surge in combat power caused by cosmic force is above that of world force. The innate purple qi of the elder in the purple robe, being only partly mastered, could once perfected, even without the world force, rival the peak evolvers of the eighth layer. Those supreme immortal kings, without an inner world, yet able to rival the invincibles of the eighth layer, must possess a power of creation that definitely belongs to a higher cosmic force. Lin Yuan thought to himself. The invincible ones of the eighth layer in the main world also vary in strength. Though the strongest cannot defeat the weakest, they can still suppress them, and the difference lies in the different cosmic forces. Some cosmic forces are simply stronger than others, and the former are known as higher cosmic forces. Opportunity. This is the greatest opportunity of my travel through the realms. Lin Yuan's eyes shone brightly. What was the greatest help that his eighth traversal brought him? Was it opening the eighth stage martial Tao? No. The eighth layer part could be perfected anywhere. Even without traversing realms, given time in the main world, Lin Yuan could still achieve it. Comprehending the rule model of space? There was no difference from opening the 8th stage Martial Tao. It was not exclusive to the spirit realm. Before knowing that the power of creation wielded by the immortal kings was equivalent to cosmic force, traversing to the spirit realm saved Lin Yuan time and allowed for references to the immortal cultivation system and other systems. But now, having confirmed the essence of the power of creation, Lin Yuan was utterly sure that the power of creation was his greatest gain. It was irreplaceable, an unparalleled gain. In the main world universe starry sky, every cosmic force is unique, incapable of being replicated or simulated. Once a being grasps a certain cosmic force, no other life can grasp that same force. This is a rule from the main world. Here, rule is not about gold, wood, water, fire, earth, thunder, light, and other such rules. It refers to the restrictions from the main world. Just like below the Supreme Being, all life has a limit to its lifespan. This is also a rule of the main world. And in the cosmic starry skies, the fastest speed is the speed of light. Surpass it and you enter wormholes. This too is a rule of the main world. The restrictions of the main world do not apply in the spirit realm, at least not to cosmic forces. The spirit realm is much more lenient. There's no rule that a certain power of creation can only be wielded by one tribulation-transcending celestial king. Lin Yuan's mind was slightly thrilled, meaning he could completely grasp a great number of powers of creation in the spirit realm. Then, upon returning to the main world, these powers would collectively transform into cosmic forces. The main world's starry sky races have a long history, birthing many invincible beings at the 8th layer, but the vast majority of them master only one cosmic force. A very few, due to various accidents, have mastered 2 cosmic forces, which is already the limit. For a normal 8th layer powerhouse, there are 2 goals. One is to step into the 9th rank or to master some cosmic force. But for an invincible at the 8th layer, there is only one goal, and that is to step into the 9th rank. Only by breaking through to the 9th rank can one extend life, and continuing to contemplate other cosmic forces is, aside from being foolish or not, the key question is, can they really grasp it? Grasping each cosmic force contains an element of luck. There's no fixed direction. How can you be sure that the direction you choose will lead to a cosmic force? This is precisely why Lin Yuan was excited. If he hadn't discovered the essence of the power of creation, even if he knew that the spirit realm didn't have as many restrictions on cosmic force, he wouldn't have had any other ideas. To grasp more cosmic forces? Keep in mind that before fully understanding the Taiyang and Taiyang rules, even Lin Yuan didn't know that the Taiji force would be a cosmic force. Even with the against heavens understanding, grasping the next cosmic force would waste a lot of time, causing his other pursuits to slow or even stop. But now, with a clear path to pursue the power of creation, all Lin Yuan needed to do was like delving into the evolution path. Spend time contemplating and sensing it. Grasping a power of creation in the spirit realm and returning to the main world meant having a unique cosmic force. Innate purple chi. The human civilization's records of many invincible beings at the 8th layer do not mention anyone possessing this cosmic force. Lin Yuan thought to himself, though it was also possible that an invincible being of the 8th layer not recorded in history possessed the innate purple chi cosmic force. But the likelihood was low, and Lin Yuan's goal was not just to understand the innate purple chi cosmic force. He planned to go through all the powers of creation possessed by other tribulation-transcending celestial kings. Human civilization's interpretation of cosmic force is greatly helpful for stepping into the 9th rank in the future. Theoretically, the more cosmic forces one masters, the greater this help. But this is not emphasized much because it remains theoretical. Lin Yuan silently reflected. Chapter 474. Normal 8th layer evolvers, even the most talented and exceptional, can at most master one type of cosmic force or at most 2. As for more, that has never happened before. Because it's unrealistic. Comprehending a certain power of creation is very difficult for other immortal kings. They would rather deepen their understanding of the power of creation they have already mastered with the time they have. But I have against heaven's understanding, it's just a matter of time. Lin Yuan had a smile on his face. He had already imagined the scenario. By the time he returned to the main world, mastering dozens of cosmic forces and adding the amplification from his vast inner world that far surpassed the constraints of human evolvers. He might even have the chance to arm wrestle with ninth-rank powerhouses. Throughout history, even the most invincible eighth-layer beings could at most preserve their lives against ninth-rank powerhouses, let alone arm wrestle. That was seeking death. Because the way an invincible eighth-layer being preserved their life in front of a ninth-rank powerhouse was to hang on without dying for a while and then wait for rescue from a ninth-layer powerhouse of the same race. Under normal circumstances, eighth-layer invincibles had no capacity to resist against those of the ninth layer. First, I need to fully comprehend this wisp of innate purple chi. Lin Yuan collected his thoughts and began to observe the wisp of purple chi before him seriously. Your understanding is against heavens. You gaze upon the mysterious breath, beginning to attempt full comprehension. Your understanding is against heavens. You gaze upon the mysterious breath, beginning to attempt full comprehension. Your understanding is against heavens. You gaze upon the mysterious breath, beginning to attempt full comprehension. According to Lin Yuan's perception of the innate purple chi, this cosmic force was just an ordinary one, incomparable to higher cosmic forces. The Taiji force he controlled should be considered a higher cosmic force, simultaneously accommodating two extreme rules, whether for attack or defense it's nearly perfect. Xianyao City. As a common city within the Shenhuang domain, recently a large number of true immortal level powerhouses, and even half-step immortal king level powerhouses, have come, eager to see the martial ancestor in person. Whenever there is a trace of a tribulation-transcending celestial king, it draws numerous powerful individuals. Whether they can meet the immortal king or not, it's worth approaching first. Many pinnacle true immortals and half-step immortal king-level powerhouses have been stuck at their current bottleneck for tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. Seclusion doesn't hold much significance. Instead of wandering aimlessly, it's better to seek out the traces of immortal kings. There's nothing to lose anyway. If it sparks some insight, it would be cause for great joy. If not, it's within expectations. That's why. Now, Xianyao City has gathered a large number of true immortals and half-step immortal kings. Ordinary cultivators walking on the street might come across a renowned half-step immortal king. And these true immortals and half-step immortal kings are extremely low profile in Xianyao City, as after all, they are under the watchful eye of an immortal king, and no powerful individual dares to disturb the peace. Entrance of the martial temple. 3 figures walked out. So many true immortals. I've never seen so many true immortals in my life. Jun Haiqiu and the other junior members of the Jun family opened their eyes wide, looking towards the profoundly deep auras within Xianyao City. The Dao Immortal sect, as one of the 3 giants of the Shenhuang domain, only had dozens of true immortals stationed, but there seem to be hundreds of thousands of them now in Xianyao City. And that doesn't include those half-step immortal kings. Moreover, as time passed, more and more true immortals and half-step immortal kings kept on arriving. In a great realm like the Shenhuang domain, there are typically several hundred true immortal-level powerhouses, and Shenhuang domain is just one of the thousands of great realms in Dongyuntao province. The Wuji ancestor, as an immortal king, has attracted the attention of true immortals from dozens of surrounding provinces, hundreds of Tao provinces. Hundreds of thousands of true immortals? The number of true immortals arriving next is estimated to exceed 1 million. Jun Nangong said softly. 1 million true immortals. Jun Yunxuan swallowed nervously. If it weren't for the Wuji ancestor, how could we possibly stand here now? Jun Haiqiu said with emotion. They had come to visit the martial ancestor and had soon met Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan told them to stay at the martial temple for a while and would find time to give them some guidance when he was free. That was why the 3 of them could come and go from the martial temple with such ease. Such treatment would probably make those half-step immortal king powerhouses outside jealous. Being able to freely enter and leave the martial temple is equivalent to feeling the breath of the martial ancestor up close, which is a great honor for those half-step immortal kings. Staying in close proximity to an immortal king is also a huge opportunity for them. Inside the cave dwelling, Lin Yuan was sitting cross-legged. Orange-yellow flames burned continuously within his body. Lin Yuan's physical body began to collapse, turning to ash that fell away after an unknown amount of time. In the blink of an eye, blood rebirth operated, and Lin Yuan's physical body rapidly recovered, coming back once again. I can feel it. I'm almost done completely absorbing the orange-yellow liquid. Lin Yuan's eyes were slightly closed as he felt the enhancements to his body and inner world. Now, Lin Yuan's inner world was 6.5 times larger than that of a normal 8th-layer evolver. Aside from the 3.33 times increase provided by the crimson liquid, the orange-yellow liquid had brought Lin Yuan's enhancement up to 3.2 times. This was extremely close to the maximum enhancement limit of the orange-yellow liquid, 3.33 times. I should be close to encountering the third type of liquid, Lin Yuan thought silently. However, in the process of absorbing the first two types of liquids, my divine skill, blood rebirth, has also been exercised and enhanced. A smile emerged on Lin Yuan's face. As a physical body divine ability, blood rebirth could also be strengthened, albeit at an exceedingly slow rate. However, after thousands, even tens of thousands of times of absorbing the liquids from the mysterious gourd, causing the collapse and then recovery of his physical body, blood rebirth was naturally able to be strengthened. This is good. It saves me having to go through the process again after I return to the main world. Lin Yuan was in a good mood. In the spirit realm, it took Lin Yuan a full 100 years to fully absorb the orange-yellow liquid. But with this 100-year enhancement of the physical body divine ability blood rebirth, Lin Yuan would need, at most, only a few days to completely absorb the orange-yellow liquid upon returning to the main world, because Lin Yuan had greatly elevated his comprehension of blood rebirth. He could withstand the burning of the orange-yellow flames for a longer period, the same being true in the main world. The 9 heavens, the 7th layer of heaven. The Taiji primordial spirit ascended, surveying his surroundings. I'll start with the 7th layer of heaven to see if I can encounter an immortal king. After learning that the power of creation wielded by the immortal kings was equivalent to the cosmic force of the main world, Lin Yuan was extremely enthusiastic about finding other immortal king-level powerhouses, especially the existence at the level of a supreme immortal king, whose power of creation could be equivalent to that of a higher cosmic force. Comprehending such a higher cosmic force would aid Lin Yuan enormously once he stepped into the 9th rank, giving him more than 10 times the benefit than from comprehending ordinary cosmic forces. Given the limited time, Lin Yuan naturally focused on comprehending higher cosmic forces. This layer of heaven. Lin Yuan released his senses, trying to spread them in all directions as much as possible. Lin Yuan's eyes brightened as he detected the breath of an immortal king. Whoosh! He headed straight towards the immortal king. Moments later, Lin Yuan stopped. Looking ahead, he saw a towering, burly figure standing before him, closely observing a spectacle similar to a black hole in the distance. What's this? Lin Yuan observed the towering figure, who was carrying a huge axe. Merely sitting there, the aura emanating from the axe felt as though it could split open countless worlds. Is this the open heaven immortal king? Does he wield the power of opening the heavens? Lin Yuan was slightly shaken. Among the many pieces of information provided by the purple-robed elder, the open heaven immortal king's destructive power could rank in the top 3 among the supreme immortal kings of this era, and his power of opening the heavens could nearly cleave apart anything. As if sensing someone's gaze, the towering figure of the open heaven immortal king glanced at Lin Yuan. Open heaven immortal king. Lin Yuan walked up with a smile. A short while later, Lin Yuan stored away a strand of the power of opening the heavens and left contentedly. As a fellow supreme immortal king, it was not too difficult to request a strand of the power of opening the heavens for study, as long as he showed goodwill. Of course, Lin Yuan also offered his Taiji power in exchange. Having never appeared in the spirit realm before, the Taiji power piqued the open heaven immortal king's curiosity, and he agreed readily and promptly. Just like that, Lin Yuan's Taiji primordial spirit remained in the 7th layer of heaven, studying the powers of creation of many immortal kings. 300 years flew by in the blink of an eye. Chapter 475. The Temptation of the Ninth Layer of Heaven. Marvels filled the seventh layer of heaven as a figure descended. "We're here?" Lin Yuan smiled, looking at a celestial king seated cross-legged in the distance, quietly sitting there, the void around him being invisibly affected, becoming exceptionally stable, allowing even ordinary people to survive. It should be known that even the first layer of heaven required at least the combat power of a true immortal to enter. Life forms below the level of true immortals rashly ascending, without the protection of true immortal-level powerhouses, simply could not withstand the pressure from between the layers of heaven. It was like this even for the first layer of heaven, let alone the seventh layer of heaven. Normally, only a supreme immortal king could reside permanently in the seventh layer of heaven. Supreme Immortal King. Lin Yuan carefully observed the celestial king, one of the most renowned kings among the 3,000 provinces. The Supreme Immortal King was a Supreme Immortal King, and within the 3,000 provinces, there was one specifically named the Supreme Tao Province, the place where the Immortal King's teachings were passed down. Lin Yuan had once instructed people from the Martial Temple to collect numerous immortal path skills, including the Supreme Jade Purity Immortal Scripture, which was created by the Supreme Immortal King himself and intentionally disseminated. In terms of killing power, the Supreme Immortal King is not as good as the Open Heaven Immortal King, but in terms of overall strength, the two should be on the same level, Lin Yuan secretly said to himself. Among the Supreme Immortal Kings, there were strengths and weaknesses. Some Supreme Immortal Kings who possessed a complete power of creation were stronger than other Supreme Immortal Kings, and some even controlled several complete powers of creation. Compared to the restriction of lifespan imposed on eighth-layer invincibles in the main world, the Supreme Immortal Kings of the Spirit Realm could almost be said to exist alongside the Spirit Realm, with ample time to comprehend various powers of creation. Martial Ancestor. The Supreme Immortal King opened his eyes, looked towards Lin Yuan, and greeted him with a smiling expression. In the past 300 years, although Lin Yuan had never officially made a move, the Supreme Immortal Kings, with their perception, were basically aware of Lin Yuan's unfathomably deep strength. Thus, whether it was the Open Heaven Immortal King, the Supreme Immortal King, or other Supreme Immortal Kings, they were all willing to make his acquaintance. Over the years, Lin Yuan made acquaintance with quite a few Supreme Immortal Kings. Those who were able to stay in the seventh layer of heaven were all Supreme Immortal Kings, and Lin Yuan proactively approached each one for communication, attempting trades for the powers of creation in their control. Open Heaven asked me to check with you. How are the preparations going? Lin Yuan looked at the Supreme Immortal King and spoke. I am ready. The Supreme Immortal King's expression became solemn as he seriously said, those old-timers from the prehistoric era who refused to die, they've hogged the eighth layer of heaven for so long, it's about time they made some room. For ordinary tribulation-transcending celestial kings like the man in the purple robe, it was difficult to get involved with matters related to the prehistoric era. But to the eyes of Supreme Immortal Kings, the prehistoric era was no secret. Since the fall of the prehistoric era and the start of the era of the 3,000 provinces, those Supreme Immortal Kings who survived from the prehistoric era have occupied the eighth layer of heaven. And they forbade Supreme Immortal Kings born in the era of the 3,000 provinces from ascending. Therefore, all this time, Supreme Immortal Kings born in the era of the 3,000 provinces, like Open Heaven Immortal King and Supreme Immortal King, have continuously tried to attack the eighth layer of heaven, aiming to explore the ninth layer of heaven. Whether from the prehistoric era or the era of the 3,000 provinces, all Supreme Immortal Kings were clear about one thing. That is, the ninth layer of heaven held a profound secret. There are people beyond people, heavens beyond heavens, and above the 9 heavens are celestial beings. This phrase was no rumor. The celestial beings here, it is rumored, might be existences that transcend the level of an immortal king. The end of the prehistoric era also related to the 9th layer of heaven. All Supreme Immortal Kings longed immensely for the 9th layer of heaven. However, for the time being, the path to the 9th layer of heaven, the 8th layer of heaven, was occupied by those Supreme Immortal Kings from the prehistoric era, How could the supreme immortal kings from the era of the 3,000 provinces just stand by and watch? So for millions of years, every few 100,000 years, supreme immortal kings like Open Heaven Immortal King attempted to invade the 8th layer of heaven. And just now, the preparations mentioned by Lin Yuan were for supreme immortal kings like the Open Heaven Immortal King to once again attack the 8th layer of heaven. Of course, up to now, those supreme immortal kings from the prehistoric era still held the advantage, and the plans of immortal kings like Open Heaven to invade the 8th layer of heaven had all failed. The prehistoric era. Lin Yuan's eyes narrowed slightly. His joining forces with the Open Heaven Immortal King and the Supreme Immortal King, and other Supreme Immortal Kings wasn't just for the 9th layer of heaven. It was more about the powers of creation held by those Supreme Immortal Kings from the prehistoric era. In the past 300 years, Lin Yuan had almost gathered a thread of the power of creation controlled by all Supreme Immortal Kings from the current era. But he had not had much contact with those from the prehistoric era. After leaving the Supreme Immortal King, Lin Yuan returned to his own residence, in the 7th layer of heaven. I have made significant progress in these 300 years. Lin Yuan sat cross-legged, especially in the comprehension of cosmic force, with the reference of powers of creation from various supreme immortal kings. In just 300 years, Lin Yuan had grasped over 30 types of cosmic force. Of those, 4 were considered higher cosmic forces: Open Heaven Force, Annihilation Force, Immeasurable Force, and Equilibrium Force. As for ordinary cosmic forces, there were nearly 30 kinds, including innate purple chi, infinite cutting, fluctuation domain, supreme yang thunder, and so on. Of course, these cosmic forces, Lin Yuan had only initially comprehended, without delving further into them. According to the categorization by the Supreme Immortal Kings of the Spirit Realm, each power of creation could be divided into 3 realms: the First Realm, Second Realm, and Third Realm. Lin Yuan had only grasped the First Realm and then stopped delving deeper, investigating new powers of creation instead. Chapter 476. This is also the most efficient method, first understanding these powers of creation and then bringing them to the main world to transform into cosmic forces. Although he had the world coordinates of the Spirit Realm, Lin Yuan could return to this world at any time, but it would cost 10 strands of world-breaking origin force, so he needed to be cautious. In fact, ordinary powers of creation are just a part of the higher powers of creation. Lin Yuan mused thoughtfully. Although the dozens of powers of creation he comprehended were all at the first layer of heaven, they involved 4 higher powers of creation. Take, for example, the immeasurable force, a higher power of creation, which encompassed a variety of ordinary powers of creation, including innate purple chi, fluctuation domain, and so on. Infinite cutting is also a higher power of creation, one aspect of the Open Heaven Force. Unfortunately, not all Supreme Immortal Kings possess the higher powers of creation. Ordinary powers of creation, if cultivated to the Third Realm, are also close to the Second Realm of higher powers of creation. Lin Yuan silently thought to himself, most creation immortal kings who mastered several Third Realm ordinary powers of creation have combat powers that are not much weaker than those of Open Heaven Immortal Kings. The main issue is that cultivating higher powers of creation to the Third Realm is extremely difficult. Even Open Heaven Immortal Kings and Supreme Immortal Kings stop at the Second Realm. The dozens of powers of creation I've mastered, although they are all at the first layer of heaven, when combined, should they not be almost as powerful as the Third Realm of a certain higher power of creation? Lin Yuan secretly thought. If he only pondered 1 or 2 higher powers of creation, with Lin Yuan's against heaven's understanding, he might be able to cultivate them to the Third Realm in 300 years. But this did not meet Lin Yuan's expectations. There were so many powers of creation in the Spirit Realm, bringing them to the main world would transform them into cosmic forces. Quantity is definitely more important than quality. Quality can be improved after returning to the main world, but as for quantity, if not satisfied, one can only pay 10 strands of world-breaking origin force to return to the Spirit Realm. Understanding dozens of powers of creation was only a part of Lin Yuan's harvest from 300 years of cultivation. Lin Yuan also surpassed the 3rd stage in the perfection of the 8th stage martial Tao and entered the 4th stage. In Lin Yuan's conception, the 8th layer part is divided into 4 stages. Reaching the 4th stage means he's nearly at the end. This also aligns with many evolutionary paths in the main world, which are also divided into 4 stages for their 8th layer part. As for becoming invincible beyond the 8th layer, in essence it's also in the 4th stage, but having mastered some kind of cosmic force, it's considered an unreplicable case. Unfortunately, the main world has a lot of restrictions on cosmic forces. My Taiji force is a cosmic force. Future martial Dao cultivators, even if they follow my footsteps step by step, will not be able to transform into this kind of cosmic force again. Lin Yuan slightly shook his head. Of course, if the Taiji force doesn't work, one could try other forces. For example, the 5 elements force. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth. These 5 basic elements nurture and restrain each other. Once these 5 basic rules are fully understood, and the 5 elements rules are fused, it will probably be another cosmic force. Martial Dao encompasses all Daos, and theoretically, it has the potential to give birth to many cosmic forces. There's also the space rules model. Within the depths of Lin Yuan's eyes, faint spatial fluctuations began to appear. In 300 years, Lin Yuan has fully understood up to 4,600 core spatial models. Aside from the 3,000 understood 300 years ago, he has comprehended more than 1,600 more in these 300 years. To know, there are over 7,000 core spatial models, and as the number increases, the difficulty of understanding them increases. Under such circumstances, Lin Yuan was still able to comprehend more than 1,600, which is quite incredible. 4,600 core spatial models. Taking the main world's 8th stage evolvers as a template, my inner world should have a size of about 680,000 miles in radius. The more spatial models one comprehends, the larger the inner world becomes. Theoretically, if 8th layer evolvers comprehend 7,782 core spatial models, their inner world could reach a size of 10 million miles in radius. But that's the size of a normal 8th layer evolver's inner world. The size of my inner world. A trace of peculiarity appeared on Lin Yuan's face. With the blessing of the mysterious gourd, Lin Yuan's inner world had nearly reached a staggering 70 million miles in radius. Such an immense inner world, let alone human 8th layer evolvers, even the Starry Sky Wanderer Kuan of the Peak Bloodline and special beings couldn't compare. Theoretically, the upper limit of the Starry Sky Wanderer Kuan's inner world is 50 million miles in radius, and that is why Starry Sky Wanderer Kuan is known as a peak bloodline with an upper limit 5 times that of humans. But now, Lin Yuan's inner world has exceeded the upper limit of the Starry Sky Wanderer Kuan's inner world by a large margin, which is quite unbelievable. The most crucial thing is, an inner world with a 70 million miles radius is still far from Lin Yuan's limit. The gourd. The inner world size surpassed that of other 8th layer evolvers' spatial understanding by tenfold, naturally because Lin Yuan's absorption of the liquid inside the mysterious gourd had reached the 4th kind. Out of the 7 types of liquid, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and purple, Lin Yuan had begun to absorb the green liquid. The color of the mysterious gourd also transformed into a grayish green. The difficulty of absorbing the green liquid is far greater than the first 3 types of liquids. I started absorbing this kind 20 years ago, but until now, it has not even increased my physical body's power in the inner world by 1-fold. Lin Yuan shook his head slightly, predicting that the absorption rate would only slow down as he progressed, especially with the last 3 types, cyan, blue, and purple. Lin Yuan even suspected they might be prepared for 8th layer lifeforms. No matter what, I've already made a killing. Having an inner world 10 times larger out of nowhere, even supreme beings would find it inconceivable, right? Lin Yuan didn't know if supreme beings could achieve this, but at least with his identities as a 7th-level citizen coupled with being the Star Lord and the founder of the Martial Path evolutionary path, he had never heard of such a thing. Now the power of my Taiji primordial spirit is far weaker than my true body, Lin Yuan thought to himself. Without the mysterious gourd, there wouldn't be much difference between the power of the Taiji primordial spirit and the true body. The true body mastered the powers of Taiji, open heaven, and other cosmic forces, which the Taiji primordial spirit could also wield. Even because of the nature of its soul energy physique, the Taiji primordial spirit could be a bit more troublesome. But now, due to the gap in the inner worlds, The Taiji primordial spirit's inner world is only 6.8 million miles in circumference. On the other hand, the inner world created by the true body has reached 70 million miles in circumference. With a tenfold difference, the true body and the primordial spirit are simply not on the same level. The 3,000 Dao provinces. Xianwang Domain. Martial Temple. With 300 years of development, today's Martial Temple has become a massive presence in Dongyun Tao Province. Its influence has transcended Dongyun Tao Province, spreading to dozens and even hundreds of adjacent provinces. Across the entire 3,000 Dao provinces, the influence of the martial Tao cultivation system might not match that of the Immortal Path, but within Dongyun Tao Province and the surrounding provinces, its influence is undoubtedly unmatched. Even the Immortal Path cannot suppress the martial Tao in the slightest. The reason is that the martial ancestor himself is personally stationed in the martial temple. Over the past 300 years, the martial ancestor has made several appearances to give lectures on the nature of martial Tao, leading countless geniuses and prodigies onto the path of martial Tao. Inside the cave abode, Lin Yuan sat cross-legged. Martial Tao now. Lin Yuan slowly opened his eyes. After 300 years of promoting martial Tao, the current martial Tao cultivation system had become the strongest cultivation system beneath the Immortal Path, second to none. Over the past 300 years, the occasional tribulation transcending celestial king sought to visit Lin Yuan, only to sense a fraction of Lin Yuan's strength, as had the man in the purple robe, before ordering their disciples and descendants not to oppose the martial temple. Over time, the influence of martial Tao grew larger and larger. It is predictable that, with time passing, martial Tao might truly reach the heights of the Immortal Path. The only dissatisfaction for Lin Yuan was that, to this day, martial Tao had still not produced an 8th stage powerhouse. Despite several lectures, they have only resulted in a large number of martial Tao 5th stage and 6th stage practitioners. However, the 8th stage of martial arts, comparable to a tribulation transcending celestial king, a warrior of the martial path, alluding to an 8th stage powerhouse, has yet to emerge. Chapter 477. The Battle of Ascension. 8th stage of martial Tao. Lin Yuan shook his head slightly. The martial Tao cultivation system was so formidable solely because he, the martial ancestor, was present. Essentially, the foundation of martial Tao was still too shallow. Despite having a history of tens of thousands of years, apart from the 300 or 400 years when Lin Yuan was in charge, there weren't many achievements during other times. Just relying on a few hundred years to cultivate an 8th stage martial Tao from nothing was like a fool's dream. Even if Lin Yuan exhausted his own origin source to nurture a cultivator, when breaking through from the 7th rank to the 8th layer, if one state of heart during the heart demon tribulation was even slightly off, it would all be in vain. As long as I can cultivate an 8th layer martial Tao cultivator before my time of stay runs out, the martial Tao cultivation system can become truly stable. Lin Yuan thought to himself. In Lin Yuan's heart, among the few who might possibly advance to the 8th layer, naturally were the old 7th rank cultivators, Li Qing, Shanyang, and Nieyun. As for those who started on the path of martial Tao in the past few hundred years, their accumulation was far from sufficient. The 7th layer of heaven. More than 20 supreme immortal kings, including Lin Yuan, converged in one place, their terrifying aura-shaking billion-mile radius. In the era since the 3,000 Dao states, over tens of millions of years, the number of supreme immortal king-level powerhouses born added up does not surpass 30. And now, almost all of them were gathered here. The 8th layer of heaven. The open heaven immortal king stood towering, wielding a pitch-black giant axe on his back, his gaze sharp as he looked off into the entrance to the 8th layer of heaven. There, enveloped in clouds and mist, fearsome auras circulated ambiguously, clearly the methods left behind by those supreme immortal kings of the prehistoric era, to prevent later generations from entering the 8th layer of heaven and sharing the chance of the 9th layer of heaven with them. Last time during the Ascension battle, my strength hadn't broken through. This time it surely will. The open heaven immortal king glanced at the other supreme immortal kings, his tone filled with confidence. The power of creation he wielded belonged to a higher order. Moreover, it was a higher order power of creation adept in offense, making him the main force in each incursion into the 8th layer of heaven. And this invasion into the 8th layer of heaven was also referred to by the supreme immortal kings, such as the Open Heaven Immortal King, as the Ascension Battle. Open Heaven, we believe in you. Exactly, those old fogies from the prehistoric era are far too greedy, even trying to monopolize the opportunity of the 9th layer of heaven. I'll deal with that missed immortal king later. The numerous ascension battles had left the supreme immortal kings present quite familiar with those old-timers of the 8th layer of heaven. As supreme immortal kings, even if they failed in their ascension, at worst they would only suffer heavy damage. It was nearly impossible for them to fall, so those supreme immortal kings from the 8th layer of heaven had never descended to the 7th layer of heaven to hunt them down. In fact, even if they did pursue them, it would be very difficult to completely kill a supreme immortal king. Lin Yuan stood aside, quietly listening to the exchange between the various supreme immortal kings. Among the more than 20 supreme immortal kings present, only Lin Yuan was a newcomer, having never participated in an ascension battle, so he remained silent at this moment. Lin Yuan looked up slightly toward the entrance to the 8th layer of heaven. With his perception, he had already sensed that auras of supreme immortal king caliber kept converging, indicating that the supreme immortal king level forces of the 8th layer of heaven also knew that an ascension battle was soon to be initiated by the likes of the Open Heaven Immortal King. The 9th layer of heaven. Lin Yuan also grew curious about what exactly the 9th layer of heaven contained that made the supreme immortal kings from the prehistoric era gather at the 8th layer of heaven and jointly prevent later supreme immortal kings from joining. I will know soon enough. Lin Yuan silently thought to himself. The 8th layer of heaven. Vast and boundless. A series of terrifying auras all appeared at the exit connecting to the 7th layer of heaven. Those little guys below want to fight their way up again. But what's the point with their power, even if they get up here? A figure enshrouded in clouds and mist sneered. As a supreme immortal king from the prehistoric era, he was completely entitled to call the Open Heaven Immortal King and the Supreme Immortal King little guys. We mustn't underestimate them. That Open Heaven Immortal King holds the power of Open Heaven, and there's also the Supreme Immortal King who commands the immeasurable force. If they comprehend it to the 3rd heavenly realm, that would be troublesome for us. Another figure spoke slowly. The power of Open Heaven. The immeasurable force. Both were higher-order powers of creation. In previous ascension battles, the Open Heaven Immortal King and the Supreme Immortal King had only comprehended these higher-order powers of creation to the 2nd realm. That's why they were easily repelled. It's just a trouble, the 3rd figure stated calmly. What if they truly understood the higher-order powers of creation to the 3rd realm? Those long-lived Supreme Immortal Kings, almost all of them had similar methods. In terms of talent, the Supreme Immortal Kings of the prehistoric era, were in no way inferior to those of the 3000 Tao States era. In terms of cultivation years, they had nearly spanned 2 eras, far surpassing the Supreme Immortal Kings like the Open Heaven Immortal King. Although longer years of cultivation did not necessarily mean stronger power, they certainly couldn't be weak. Leave that Open Heaven Immortal King to me. I also cultivate the power of Open Heaven, a similarly towering figure said. The powers of creation in the spirit realm were not unique and could be comprehended by multiple immortal kings. Since the power of Open Heaven was a higher-order power of creation specialized in killing power, it naturally drew the attention of many Supreme Immortal Kings. As the various Supreme Immortal Kings were conversing, boom! A fearsome gleam of an axe, coming from the 7th layer of heaven, cleaved through the void and crashed toward the hazy entrance of the 8th layer of heaven. Enormous amounts of clouds and mist were split apart, and though they quickly recuperated, they were immediately followed by a succession of further gleams of the axe. Chapter 478. The youngster from Open Heaven. Enshrouded in mist, the figure furrowed his brows. Let's take action. Don't let them really advance up here. Brother Open Heaven's power of Open Heaven must have broken through again. The Supreme Immortal King muttered softly as he watched the axe lights cleaved by the Open Heaven Immortal King. The other Supreme Immortal Kings agreed upon hearing this. At this moment, the strength of the Open Heaven Immortal King was terrifying, Every axe light was stronger than a full strike from a normal supreme immortal king. Such endless cleaving, even the supreme immortal king would not dare to intercept directly. Whoosh! Suddenly, the entrance to the 8th layer of heaven. Several figures walked out. Among them, a towering figure also held a giant axe. But this one was entirely blue, the axe light pervasive, directly blocking the offensive of the open heaven immortal king. Lads, are you rolling down yourselves? Or shall we knock you down? The leading figure spoke, his voice booming, echoing across the 7th layer of heaven. It's Lingshu immortal king, this old undying. The tone of the supreme immortal king carried a hint of fear. Lingshu immortal king possessed a higher level power of creation and 6 ordinary powers of creation, and all these powers were cultivated to the 3rd realm. His strength was terrifying to the extreme. Lin Yuan was sizing up Lingshu immortal king with somewhat heated eyes. The aura of the power of creation emanating from Lingshu immortal king included 3 types that Lin Yuan had never encountered before, one of which was a higher level power of creation. Let's go. Together. The supreme immortal king soared into the sky, and the other supreme immortal kings followed suit. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, dozens of supreme immortal kings were engaged in combat. Each supreme immortal king's offensives impacted for thousands of miles, and if the battlefield had not been in the 9 heavens but in the 3,000 realms. The mere aftermath of these dozens of supreme immortal kings' battles would have been enough to destroy the 3,000 realms several times over. Countless true immortals and half-step immortal kings would pretty much die out completely. But in the 9 heavens, especially in the 7th layer of heaven, these aftershocks did not cause much impact. Or rather, the impacts that did occur, such as torn spaces, would quickly recover. Lin Yuan followed at the back, taking the time to survey the battle situation. Open Heaven Immortal King was entangled by a Supreme Immortal King who also comprehended the power of Open Heaven. Their fighting style was almost the same, a straightforward axe for axe, but the power of Open Heaven involved between each axe strike caused even ordinary Supreme Immortal Kings to tremble. And the Supreme Immortal King was battling 2 Supreme Immortal Kings together, wielding the immeasurable force with each strike massively overwhelming. Even when fighting 2, he was suppressing the opposition. Lin Yuan just glanced around and felt someone watching him. It's been a long time since I've taken action. Young lad, as a senior, I allow you to strike first, otherwise, you might not get the chance later. A slender man stood in the distance, smiling kindly at Lin Yuan. Allow me to strike first? Lin Yuan pondered, considering how much effort to use, even though the strength of the Taiji primordial spirit was far less than the true body. But possessing the higher level power of Taiji, along with 4 other higher level powers of creation and dozens of ordinary powers of creation. Even though the dozens of other powers of creation were all at the 1st realm. Plus the enhancement of an inner world spanning millions of miles. Combined, Lin Yuan's strength, he believed, was not inferior to a supreme immortal king who mastered the 3rd realm of higher level power of creation. Perhaps even stronger. Yes. The slender immortal king nodded slightly. Suddenly, his expression subtly changed, because he realized Lin Yuan had disappeared. This disappearance was not movement or teleportation, but a true disappearance, vanishing from this world. Not good. The slender immortal king's expression drastically changed. Instinctively, he began to retreat explosively. But it was already too late. Lin Yuan's figure, unbeknownst to him, had appeared by his side. Then he gently threw a punch. This punch had no might leaking out, but in the eyes of the slender immortal king, it felt like his scalp was exploding, vaguely sensing a deadly threat. Split. The slender immortal king's skin burst forth with a lot of blood. The next moment his figure exploded. Under Lin Yuan's punch, his body was smashed to pieces. Whoosh! A phantom soul appeared, rushing towards the entrance to the 8th layer of heaven frantically. This soul moved so fast that even Lin Yuan felt unable to stop it, so he did not make a move. Pity! Lin Yuan shook his head slightly. The power of creation wielded by the slender immortal king. He had already comprehended it, killing the opponent did not yield much benefit. The explosion of the slender immortal king's body immediately attracted the attention of other supreme immortal kings around. Those supreme immortal kings from the prehistoric era looked at Lin Yuan with unbelievable eyes. The strength of the slender immortal king might not be very formidable, but it wasn't too weak either. That he could be smashed so decisively by a single punch. Could it be that he had comprehended some high-level power of creation to the third realm? And was it a similar offensive power of creation like the power of open heaven? Only under such an unexpected situation, without the slender immortal king's prepared defenses, could he have been taken down so quickly. Ha ha ha, martial ancestor. I hadn't expected you to possess such strength. Open heaven immortal king laughed heartily. Although the slender immortal king did not perish, his physical body was shattered, and even if he could consolidate a physical body with his soul again, his strength wouldn't be fully displayed, and he certainly won't participate in this ascendancy battle. Martial ancestor? At the entrance to the 8th layer of heaven, Lingshu immortal king had not joined the battle. His task was to guard the entrance to prevent the supreme immortal kings below from sneaking through and stealthily ascending to the 8th layer of heaven. Chapter 479. When did such a strong being appear in this era? The Lingshu immortal king's expression shifted slightly. He was constantly vigilant about the battlefield, watching the fight between Lin Yuan and the emaciated immortal king. He vaguely felt that Lin Yuan's strength probably surpassed that of the open heaven immortal king and the supreme immortal king. This won't do. The balance has been broken. The martial ancestor cannot be allowed to remain. The Lingshu immortal king made up his mind. He had not anticipated that this ascension battle would add someone as exceptional as the martial ancestor. Such strength, yet it was the first time he was participating in the ascension battle. It was inconceivable. Under these circumstances, in the ensuing war, no one would be able to withstand the martial ancestor, and the situation would likely turn disadvantageous for them. I must make a move. At the very least, I must heavily injure the martial ancestor. The Lingshu immortal king looked towards Lin Yuan. At this moment, several supreme immortal kings from the prehistoric era joined forces, attempting to block the martial ancestor. But with Lin Yuan's casual movements, those supreme immortal kings were clearly unable to hold on for long. The Lingshu immortal king still stood there, but his true body was hidden deep in the void, approaching Lin Yuan. As the strongest presence in the field, the supreme immortal king, the Lingshu immortal king believed that with his methods, a stealth attack would gravely injure, if not kill, the martial ancestor. You are too weak. Too weak, and the power of creation you control is also quite ordinary. Lin Yuan looked at the several supreme immortal kings surrounding him. With each strike he dealt, their aura would weaken significantly. Just then, a dusky shadow loomed over Lin Yuan from above. Destruction. The Lingshu immortal king raised his right hand, and a dusky aura enveloped Lin Yuan. An advanced power of creation. The great destructive force. This was a killing power of creation that ranked alongside the force to open the heavens. The difference between the two is that the force to open the heavens attacks a single point or a line, whereas the great destructive force attacks an area. Massive and overpowering, all in front of it will be annihilated. Lin Yuan's expression shifted slightly. This kind of great destructive force was indeed the bane of energy, spirit, and life. Disperse. Lin Yuan's mind stirred slightly. He wanted to disperse his primordial spirit body. But immediately after, a binding force bore down upon him. I have cultivated the great destructive force to the third realm, and 6 other ordinary powers of creation to the third realm as well. The combined strength of 6 third realm ordinary powers of creation is almost not weaker than a third realm advanced power of creation. It's akin to me wielding 2 third realm advanced powers of creation. The Lingshu immortal king was very confident in himself. Even the open heaven immortal king could only defend when facing him. By lowering himself to make a stealth attack on this martial ancestor, he might even be able to shatter his physical body and completely rob him of the ability to continue fighting. No good, the martial ancestor. The open heaven immortal king, who was far away, also noticed this scene and instantly became anxious. He slashed out several times in quick succession, trying to restrain the Lingshu immortal king. But he was immediately entangled by the opponent in front of him. The supreme immortal king was the same, his immeasurable force vast and boundless, but alas, he was desperately blocked by two peer supreme immortal kings. Russell. Lin Yuan's brows were tightly knitted. Under the restraint of 6 types of third-realm powers of creation, it was difficult for him to move in a short time, and he could only resist the pouring great destructive force. The terrifying great destructive force descended, quickly causing Lin Yuan's primordial spirit body to collapse and eventually be forcefully reduced to nothingness. This easily? The Lingshu immortal king was somewhat surprised. He thought that the martial ancestor spirit might be able to escape. The martial ancestor! The open heaven immortal king roared in rage. He could never have imagined that the martial ancestor would die. In the Ascension battle, the fall of a supreme immortal king was an extremely rare event. Despicable Lingshu immortal king. The supreme immortal king's gaze was icy as he stared at the Lingshu immortal king. He had seen the Lingshu immortal king's stealth attack from the shadows with his own eyes. Humph! The Lingshu immortal king let out a cold snort, unconcerned. Suddenly, just then, the Lingshu immortal king seemed to sense something and his expression changed slightly. What is that? The Lingshu immortal king looked down, toward the 6th layer heaven, the 5th heaven, 4th heaven. Within his perception, he faintly detected dull and trembling sounds from the lower heavens, as if some colossal being was continually trampling on various marvels and phenomena, and, at an inconceivable speed, was piercing through one heaven after another, heading towards the 7th layer of heaven. The Lingshu immortal king could almost imagine that the myriad suppressions and restrictions of the 9 heavens were almost as fragile as tissue paper in front of this colossal being. Even the barriers between the heavens were effortlessly torn apart by it. Boom! The next moment, the ground of 7th layer of heaven collapsed, and a figure exuding boundless vital energy appeared above the Lingshu immortal king, looking down from a great height with indifference. The oppression that felt like the heavens collapsing almost made the Lingshu immortal king suffocate. He nearly knelt down. Chapter 480 The Invincible Lin Yuan. 7th layer of heaven, silent and soundless. All the supreme immortal kings who were fighting, whether they were born during the era of 3000 Tao states or the prehistoric era, all ceased their combat. They subconsciously looked towards the figure who, with absolute brutality and absolute strength, tore the barrier between the 7th layer of heaven and the 8th layer of heaven. In the spirit realm's 9 heavens, from the 1st layer of heaven to the 2nd layer of heaven, from the 2nd layer of heaven to the 3rd layer of heaven, from the 7th layer of heaven to the 8th layer of heaven, there are 2 paths. One is to follow the fixed entrances between each layer of heaven, which would allow one to ascend to the next layer. However, at these fixed entrances numerous challenges exist, such as the endless wind calamity, the 9-fold thunder tribulation, and so on. The other is to not use the fixed entrances and directly tear open the barrier between the layers of heaven to climb to a higher level. However, the barriers between the layers of heaven are not so easily torn apart. Even for a supreme immortal king, to tear the barrier between the 1st layer of heaven and the 2nd layer of heaven requires considerable effort, far less convenient than simply entering through the entrance. And the barriers between each layer of heaven are more robust than the last. A normal supreme immortal king might expend some effort to tear open the barrier between the 1st layer of heaven and the 2nd layer of heaven. But the barrier from the 2nd layer of heaven to the 3rd layer of heaven would require a supreme immortal king to give it his all. As for the barrier between the 3rd layer of heaven and the 4th layer of heaven, an ordinary supreme immortal king simply cannot manage it. In this battle to ascend to the heavens, the open heaven immortal king and supreme immortal king from the era of 3000 Tao states chose to ascend at the entrance leading to the 8th layer of heaven. Because that is the simplest way. As for forcibly tearing the barrier between the 7th layer of heaven and the 8th layer of heaven, the open heaven immortal king, the supreme immortal king, and more than 20 other supreme immortal kings working together. It could indeed be possible, but it would at least take several days and nights. With that amount of time, The supreme immortal kings from the prehistoric era residing in the 8th layer of heaven would have long been aware, and likewise would have prepared at the barrier above, making it no different from starting a battle from the entrance. The open heaven immortal king, the supreme immortal king, and more than 20 other supreme immortal kings working together, would need several days and nights to barely manage to tear open the barrier between the 7th layer of heaven and the 8th layer of heaven. The barrier between the 6th layer heaven and the 7th layer of heaven, although not as tough as the former, would certainly also require more than 20 supreme immortal kings giving their full effort for the better part of a day or even 2 days to hope to tear it open. But just a moment ago, the figure that suddenly arrived, how long did it take to shred the barrier between the 6th layer heaven and the 7th layer of heaven? A breath? Or merely an instant? And this figure, it seems, did not only tear apart the barrier between the 6th layer heaven and the 7th layer of heaven. The barriers of the 5 major layers beneath were all brutally shredded without a moment's pause. This power is too terrifying. Even for the likes of the open heaven immortal king and supreme immortal king, such formidable supreme immortal kings, it caused their hearts to tremble at this moment. Furthermore, in the moment that figure appeared, an invisible and terrifying chi and blood domain covered 1/10 of the 7th layer of heaven, enveloping all the supreme immortal kings within it. Compared to the shock of the other supreme immortal kings, Lingshu immortal king felt almost suffocated at this moment. Merely approaching that figure caused the higher power of creation in his body to fall into dead silence, not to mention the 6 other ordinary powers of creation. You, who exactly are you? Which era's powerful figure are you? Lingshu immortal king asked tremblingly. As a supreme immortal king from the prehistoric era, Lingshu immortal king understood that the spirit realm had gone through one era after another over countless millennia. The prehistoric era? The era of 3,000 Tao states, those were just the 2 most recent eras. Before these 2 eras, there were even more ancient and inscrutable eras. Who am I? Just now. Didn't you sneak attack me? Lin Yuan glanced at Lingshu immortal king and spoke calmly. The Taiji primordial spirit, under the great destructive force of Lingshu immortal king's 3rd realm, transformed into nothingness. Although it was partly because Lin Yuan dismissed it intentionally, it was indeed due to Lingshu immortal king. At the moment the Taiji primordial spirit was sneak attacked, Lin Yuan's true body left the martial temple and directly entered the 9 heavens, following the principle that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. He traversed through various marvels and phenomena, layer barriers, and arrived here. Sneak attack you? Lingshu immortal king was slightly stunned. Immediately, his face showed an incredulous expression. The martial ancestor earlier, was it this person in front of him? Lingshu immortal king found it hard to believe. The martial ancestor's strength was indeed very strong, even surpassing the open heaven immortal king and supreme immortal king. But that was it. In a one-on-one situation, even without sneak attacking, Lingshu immortal king was confident he could suppress the martial ancestor. The reason for the sneak attack was merely to resolve the fight quickly and, as much as possible, erase this unstable factor that was the martial ancestor. For Lingshu immortal king, who had lived through the long years, he no longer cared about whether it involved sneak attacking or not. The surrounding supreme immortal king. Hello everyone, this is Shadow. Due to copyright restrictions on YouTube, I can't publish many of the audiobooks you love. That's why I've created a special paid service where you can enjoy over 300 high-quality audiobooks from platforms like Webnovel, Pocket FM, Audible, Wuxia, and more. Each novel comes as a one-time purchase, no subscriptions, no hidden fees. After payment, you'll receive full access via Telegram, along with all future updates for that novel. You'll find a wide selection of your favorite genres and titles, always in premium audio quality. Check the full list of available novels in the description. DM me now to get your favorite stories in audiobook form and start listening today.